I get frightened. Lord help me. How we do? Raise my hand. Raise my hand with 20 seconds left or something. Stand.
There's seats here in the front.
Stay out of trouble back there.
Time though, isn't
Somebody else will go along. Him and Messer. And. Keep the twist fit into his arm while he's there to get some other big ball. Yep.
okay, we can see.
Trouble with these numbers. I saw that last fall when I went to Buenos Aires, they had some street like that. Right. It's the whole atmosphere of the.
All right. I guess we're ready to go. Good evening. Guten Abend. I'm Damen und Herren. Yates. My name's David. Ich heiße David, or mein Name ist David. So, yeah. So, anyway, thank you guys for being here. We're going to recognize a lot of people, not like Baptist in a bar where we don't recognize anybody. We recognize a lot of people today. So anyway, thank you guys for being here. We're calling our, before we call the meeting to order, we're going to be led in the Pledge of Allegiance this evening by Councilmember Craig Pearson. We'll also be led by the Texas Pledge by Bob Van Til, and then the invocation will be given this evening by Councilmember Wayne Carpenter. You rise.
Join me in the pledge to our nation. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Honor the Texas flag. I pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one state under God, one and indivisible.
Please join me as we pray. Our dear Heavenly Father, we thank you so much for this beautiful day. We thank you for the opportunity to live in Belton, Texas, for the opportunity to come together, work together to serve you and to do the very best for the citizens of this community. We ask your special blessing to watch over our first responders, our military, both here at home and abroad. We ask for your peace around the world and here at home. Please forgive us when we fail thee. In Christ, and we ask your blessings. Amen.
Amen.
All right. We'll call this meeting to order. February 13th, Fat Tuesday, 5:30 something. And so thank you guys for being here. Y'all didn't make it to New Orleans. That's okay. Belton's a great place. First item on our agenda is public comments. I have several. If you did not fill out paperwork, you can see Miss Casey and let her know that you will be sharing public comments. I have 4 items, and so what I would ask you to do is limit your comment to 3 minutes. Council member Covington will be keeping the time, and he will raise his hand when you have 20 seconds to land that plane. If not, it comes crashing to the ground because he's a big old boy. And so anyway, first person is Kyle Watkins. You could state your name, address for the record, and then 3 minutes.
Yes, sir. My name is Kyle Watkins, and I live at 1925 North Beale Street. And the reason I'm coming by is to bring something to the council's attention. And it's a somewhat delicate matter that I would say is age appropriate, but close based on the folks here in the room. Well, maybe not that little guy, but hopefully it doesn't follow. It's about in the library, when you walk in the door to the right, there's the children's section. And in the children's section, a lot of us turn our kids loose to see what they can find. And I brought with me today what's come up. And it was my 4-year-old that found the first one, book in it, and it was astonishing. It was depictions of fully nude adult males, complete genitalia descriptions, children that the police here may say borderlines on criminal offense to possess a depiction of a prepubescent child, approximately 4 or 5 years old, a little girl squatting down, close view of her genitalia, same for the little boy. And so that prompted us to request, was this on purpose? Should this be here, or should this maybe be in another section of the library where if a parent wanted it, they could go get it and they could show. And the librarian director, so director, and ultimately the director's position was this is appropriate. So we looked further into it, and there's more that you can keyword search a lot of different keywords. Some of them are pretty egregious, and you can find quite a few books, and I brought a lot of them today that I won't go into. But getting into these various, it's hard to say that there are parents that I think that want to explore with their children abortion and homosexuality and homosexual couples, but to have the children turn loose to find them on our own, I suggest is maybe something we don't want. And so I'm asking you to consider putting it on an agenda for a future day and time, and or to back channel it to the director of the library. I don't actually know how these things are done, but it's something that we can't go to Salado anymore because that library is completely overrun with bad stuff, and Temple's the same way. But we're hoping that bringing this to your attention, there may be a way to persuade the director to move this to a different section of the library so we could turn our kids loose to rummage around. That's all I have. Thank you all.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you, Kyle.
Thank you.
We will refer this to staff, and so they can come up with an appropriate policy for that type of material. Thank you. Next item is same, different one, is Justin Sanson.
My name is Justin Sansom, 578 Benchmark Trail. Wanted to thank you guys for your time this evening. I'm actually with True Heart Hospice and Palliative Care Services, and really the only reason I'm here tonight is to just introduce to you guys and let us know we're in the community and we're here to provide a resource. We'd love the opportunity to get to know your fire department, your local sheriff department, your EMS, do some on-site trainings for them for how they can use us or anything like that. Again, it's just a quick introduction. I look forward to getting to know each and every one of you and available for a meeting if you need it. So, thank you for your time.
Yep. Thank you very much.
you.
And I have the information that you have, and we'll distribute that. Okay. Thank you. Next item is TC, and I'm going to say this wrong. Is it LIPE?
Good evening, I'm TC 2523 Liberty Park Court, Belton. I'm also the chairman of the Historic Preservation Commission of Belton. Thank you. Mayor, you're in my spot.
Sorry about that. I'll trade with you this evening.
No, thank you. This evening, the 19th agenda item, very late in the game, you're going to be presented with some photographs and some requests to destroy historic building in the city. This is an appeal from the unanimous vote commission. We want to reiterate that we stand firm that this building should not be destroyed. You'll be shown some pictures and told about some crimes that were committed at that location. I would like to point out for your consideration that that building committed none of these. That's basically an owner responsibility. The owner committed offense, not the building. The building was left unattended and unmaintained, which of course is a public nuisance, and it became same. Nonetheless, the building has offended nothing. The building is in fair to good condition, particularly for its over 100-year age, but that doesn't warrant destruction of another historic building. Build any more 130-year-old buildings. So look at this closely and consider this simply. The current owner of the building purchased the building with destruction in mind. They brought to our commission that they saw no use of that building as the owner. So it has to be destroyed for some other use like a parking lot. So my argument is if the UAE or another country were to buy historic buildings and destroy them and put up strip malls, is it going to be the same decision then that you would make tonight?
All right, thank you, sir. Thank you. Next person is Jacqueline. I'm not gonna get that.
Try it.
Well, I'm not sure if it's a TLE. I'm sorry.
It's Jacqueline Rumpf.
Rumpf.
Yes.
Thank you.
And so it's German.
Yes.
I am the owner of the property house at 508 North Beale. I am also here in regards to the destruction of the home that the last gentleman was speaking to for the school district. I purchased my home 6 months ago. One of the reasons is because it is an historical district, and we currently have a fourplex on the corner. We have many commercial properties that are in the neighborhood. And here is one beautiful standing building. Yes, it needs some work and it has a history, but it's a 130-year-old building like my home is. And that's one of the reasons that we have a historical committee to protect these buildings. And so I support their decision to deny the destruction of the building. It is my understanding that they are going to turn it into a parking lot. They currently have 156,000 square feet of parking for that school currently, and none of it at any time is ever full. Plenty of documentation because I live right across the street and I work from home 100%. So I'm there every single day long. And during the school year, there is not one time have I ever seen that parking lot that would be right next to it full. It's student parking, yes, but there's plenty of other parking that can be utilized if they need another park. We also currently have a problem with the rain and any kind of deluge that we get and moving that water. We don't need another parking lot to just contribute to that. So I am in support of the historical committee that have decided to deny the demolition of that building. Thank you.
All right, thank you very much. Those are the only ones I had that signed up. Do we have any other public comments? All right, there being no more public comments, we will go on to the next one. This is where the engineer gets to eat a word salad. We have two proclamations that I will read. I will come down there to read the proclamations. And give me just a second. I will go down. Get all that paper. I use this backwards. I don't think this was in the operating instructions. I don't know, but I think we'll be okay. So our students, exchange students from, is it Leipzig? Is it Leipzig? Leipzig. So again, welcome to Texas. We have a lot of German heritage in our area. You've probably been able to see a little bit of that. And so I'm just going to read this proclamation for you guys. And we also have some gifts for you as well. Again, welcome to Tech. So whereas in November, 6 University of Mary Hardin Baylor students packed enough in essentials for 2 weeks, stuffing their coats, beanies, and gloves into the largest suitcase and found themselves 5,300 miles away in Leipzig, Germany. And whereas the snow and ice greeted them, as did 6 students and educators from Johanniter Academy, school in Leipzig that chose UMHB and its students as partner beneficiaries to a grant that will fund short student exchange trips to and from Germany over the next 3 years. And whereas to experience life in a bustling European city of 750,000 people, one that boasts a 615 history, UMHB students saw and did it all. From taking public transportation, living in a German apartment, eating traditional German food, staring up 300 feet of the monument to the Battle of the Nations of 1813, where Germans defeated Napoleon's French army, and walk grounds of a German concentration camp. And whereas the UMHB students spent time learning about German education system and observing the work by nonprofits dedicated to serving their special needs population, and they returned to Texas with not simply a stamped passport, but personal growth and a richness to their worldly view. And whereas the UMHB students and staff, along with our city council and staff, extend a friendly Texas welcome to the German exchange students. Not quite 750,000 people in Belton, but Christian, Lisa, Daniela, Elias, Chrissy, and Viva, who have been immersed in the Texas culture for the past week. And whereas although they may have different cultures, speak different languages, and hold different experiences, the exchange students immediately felt a sense of community and have connected as people. Now, therefore, I, David Lee, Mayor of the City of Belton, do hereby proclaim February 13th as Exchange Students Day. So welcome. I will.
Also for the UMHB student.
All right, yeah.
I did. I got one. Want to get him up on the stage?
Yeah, they're going to come up with a quick picture. Come on up. Come and see here. Mach schnell.
So I want
Good call.
So
I think Dr. Baldridge said y'all are.
yeah, if you want to go, you can. Yeah, you're welcome. All right.
Thank you.
All right. All right. So next we would like to recognize Black History Month, February 2024. And so I think Pastor Russell is here. Also want to thank Representative Hugh Shine for being here for this and the other proclamation as well. Thank you for being here. So I'm going to go ahead and read again. Apologies. I became an engineer, so I didn't have to do speaking. I could just do math. Didn't work out. So a proclamation, whereas the city of Belton wishes to recognize February 24 as Black History Month, celebrating the many notable contributions that African Americans have made to our community, state, and country. And whereas in 1976, Black History Month was formally adopted to honor the important Black history throughout our American experience, which dates back several centuries and includes advancements and innovations from which we can all inspiration. And whereas Texas is home to many pioneering African American citizens who have had a role in shaping history and contributing to our economy, culture, political, and spiritual development, and we are proud to recognize their impact on the great state of Texas and the city of Belton. And whereas a legacy of excellence runs throughout African American history in Texas, and in the aftermath of the Americans or cavalry regiments of African Americans known as Buffalo Soldiers served our nation with distinction, overcoming both harsh conditions and prejudice to help chart the Texas frontier. And Black History Month provides an opportunity to celebrate the achievements of African Americans past and present. Civic groups and government entities have long labored in common cause to shed light on Black history during the month of February through awareness campaigns, education initiatives, and public ceremonies. And whereas during Black History Month, we recognize the essential role of African Americans in shaping the story of America, and we honor their courage and contribution to the Belton community in its history, education, religion, and the arts, among other contributions. Now, therefore, I, David Lee, Mayor of the City of Belton, encourage everyone to learn more about Black history and recommit to values of equality as we dedicate the month of 2024 as Black History Month in the City of Belton. So thank you guys for being here. Honor this. This is a small token for a large sacrifice from you individually, but also collectively. Again, thank you guys. And if we want to. Yeah, if you want to let us know. Okay.
Well, on behalf of, I'm Pastor Patrick Russell, on behalf of the city of people that live here, all minorities, Mount Zion United Methodist Church, Representative Hugh Shine, the people that support us. We say thank you for this acknowledgement. There's a lot more that can be done though. Whether we want to or not, we have to live together and we should get along together. And it's not that hard. The greatest gift of all that Christ gave us was the gift of love, and love conquers all. Everything that you can think of, love conquers all. And at this time, I'd like to ask the members of Mount Zion and the people that came to support us for this accomplishment to stand so we can acknowledge each other. Amen. So on behalf on all the people that you just saw stand up, all the people that support us, all the people try to make a difference, we say thank you.
Okay. Okay. I need a stepping stool. Thank you. Yes, sir. You know, I know being proclamations, you get lost in the word salad, but hopefully you listen to some of those words. And thank you for Amy and her staff that helped put that together, because that's so very thoughtful words to be spoken this evening. So again, thank you guys again for being here. Now we will jump into our regular agenda. We will first go through our consent agenda. Items 4 through 8 in this section could be enacted by one motion by the council. If the council wishes to remove any item, they may do so. I'm just going to read these items. I know we have at least one item that will be pulled, but I'll just read them and then the council can act on that. Item 4 is considering minutes of the January 9th, 2024 city council meeting. Item 5 is to approve the following related to the May 24 election, adopt a resolution or May 4th, 2024 general election for council members place 3 and the May 4th special election to consider the legal sale of alcoholic beverages, including mixed beverages in the city limits of Belton. 5B, authorize an agreement with Belton ISD for conducting a joint election, local location only. And item C is authorizing an agreement with the Bell County Elections Department for lease of election for the May 4th, 2024 general and special elections. Item 6 is to receive a report on the annual review of the city's Ethics Commission, number 2018-03 by the Ethics Commission. Item 7 is receive a report on the review of the tax increment reinvestment zone annual report for 2023. Item 8 is authorizing the city manager to enter into an interlocal agreement with Bell County for renovation of the historic post office building located 200 North Main Street and occupied by the Central Texas Workforce Development Board. Item 9 is consider an ordinance abandoning a 20-foot wide alley located between lots 3 and 4, block 115 of the Belton original plat. Item 10, consider award of a bid and authorizing the city manager to execute the contract for construction of fire department's pre-engineered metal building and concrete slab and any change orders associated with the contract not exceed the amount authorized under the state law. And item 11 is consider authorizing the city manager to execute a street use license agreement with the University of Maryland Baylor to authorize the construction of a fence on the West Martin King Jr. Avenue right of way. Items 4 through 11. I know I said items 4 through 8, but it's actually items 4 through 11 could be enacted on.
I'd like to pull item number 8, please.
All right, we have item 8. We will pull. Any other items? Chair will need a motion for the other items.
Can we approve the other items as presented?
Second.
We have a motion and a second to approve the consent agenda items sans 8. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? All right, passes unanimously. All right, 8. Is this going to be Sam? Okay,
Mayor, I'll start and then Tina will have some
Okay.
comments as well. So
thank you, Sam.
thank you very much, Mayor and council members. Happy to make a few comments on item number 8 that's before you tonight. As you recall, back in November, the Historic Preservation Commission disapproved Bell County's request to substitute vinyl windows for the wooden windows. In the meantime, we have been in contact with the county, trying to find a way to preserve the windows if at all possible. And so we have presented to the council a proposal to enter an interlocal agreement with the county to fund the replacement of the wooden or the renovation of the wooden windows as a substitute for removing them and putting the vinyl windows in. The funding for that was recommended by Tax Increment Reinvestment Zone, so we have the funding set aside for that. So the plan is in place to do it, but there's been some question about the background of the item and the basis for donations that went to the board. And so I've asked Tina to prepare a presentation and to present that to you to give you some background on this particular issue. Obviously the location we're all familiar with, and again, just give you some background of the board's action and where we are at this particular point in time. Tina?
Hi, thank you, everyone. I am going to jump right ahead and just remind you, this is also part of the National Register of History properties for Belton in the downtown area. This building is about art and stylistic influence. That's a French word, so I might not have pronounced that right. But that was popular between the 1885 to 1920. This building was built in 1916. So it is actual representation of that type. What is contributing, what makes it contributing is that it's over 50 years old and it has some of these existing or original features in it. So the brick exterior, the cornices around the parapet are still there in good quality. There is also the columns up at the front of the building. That is also part of that artistic design. The double French doors, the original doors were replaced, but that was a contributing factor for that. And also the window styles. It's an 8x8 light windows. That's again, 8 separate glass windows framed together to create that windows. Some of the elements again have been removed, including the doors. We also think some of the windows may have been removed, and I think those are probably at the top area that may have been removed and replaced with bricks. The original proposal was to again replace all of the 40 wooden of existing windows to vinyl replacement. The historic preservation standards is that you repair rather than replace. You do need to replace, you replace with a similar product. So here is a look at the original wood windows, and that is what they were proposing for the vinyl. So wrapping it up, the Historic Preservation Commission heard this on 20th of November and recommended disapproval of the substitute windows. Bell County had originally filed in which was deferred so we could work out some plans. And what we're recommending right now is to participate in that preservation of that historic building with this interlocal governmental agreement. The amount for it should not exceed 119,000. Again, that's what covered the difference in the cost for the vinyl and the wooden windows, around $89,000. Bell County agrees to install the windows. TERS will pick up for the vinyl windows that were already purchased. The city will likely take possession of that for a future, or Bell County may determine that they can find an alternative use for that. For this recommendation, we're agreeing to enter this agreement with the county. I'll be happy to answer any questions that you guys have.
Sam and Tina. Any questions?
The reason I wanted to pull this is to talk about, it seems like whenever we get to historic like this and substantial costs, and especially coming out of the TERS, it seems like looking for ways to compromise is kind of key in this. And I don't feel like the vinyl windows, especially matching the general aesthetic of the historic, are a bad compromise. And that's a cost that would be by the county and not by the city. So I just think that's worth some discussion.
Yeah, go ahead.
It's not really the city or the county, because the county contributes to the TERS just like the city does. And so it's really the county agreeing, and it's a joint. The TERS is, in fact, the chairman of the TERS right now is our county judge. So it's really taking dollars which they have added to the TERS for the purpose of that sort of thing, and letting in with agreement of both parties, allowing them to have that back to help make them whole, make the county side whole. And it's really dollars that came from them anyway. So I see what you're saying, David, but I think this is an appropriate compromise here. And I hope what we will do going forward is take a look at the guidance. And we have vinyl windows on this building, and I think they look good. But given where we are today, I think the compromise is appropriate to let them have their dollars back, if you will, and going forward, decide how much do we want to ask our historic commission to stick to the letter of what that is, and how much would we prefer to go like similar that retains the historic look, but doesn't have to be replaced every 5 years or slightly longer than that, which would make sense to me.
How old are these windows, the current ones?
I believe they were part of the original construction, 1916.
Well, were they repaired done?
There should be ongoing maintenance with historic preservation buildings. So there was mention of another building, the museum having replaced windows that was mentioned previously.
Again, if they
So-
last 10 years.
So I think, look, Dave and I used to be neighbors. He was younger and I was taller than him once. And
But not for long.
and one of the things his father told me as I was restoring a home from the 1800s is he's like, well, David, the way you budget it, every time you pull a nail out of that house, you're going to roll up $100 bill and stick it in the hole. That's how much it costs to maintain old buildings. And so I understand, and I sympathize with that, because I live in a new house now, not an old house. But I bought windows that they're dimensional. So they look like windows, but they're aluminum on the outside. And so instead of just being divided light, it's actually divided light that gives depth, where I think that's where the debate is okay, yeah, there's lines on it, but it doesn't look the same as a wooden window. And I think one of the questions that came up, and I think everybody agreed with, and Craig was even brought it up, and it's like, there's got to be some like choice A, B, or C. It ends up, they went and did their work, and then we disapprove it. There should be like, okay, windows that you could use on these types of structures that are reasonable in cost and in maintenance and purchase. And so that debate and discussion did happen. And at this point, both David and Russell were in agreement with this compromise. Just wish that I think they wish that we would have known that earlier before they've spent $30,000 on windows that they're not going to use on this structure. So that's just sort of the discussion that happened there with TERS.
I think it's a good compromise. Like the aspect of
maintaining the historical integrity of the building. This building is not in the historical district, hence the vinyl windows. But I support the change.
To approve the,
Item number eight, I think.
that's item 8, but let me read it. Authorize the city manager to enter into the interlocal agreement with Bell County for the preservation of those windows at the Workforce Commission. So a motion is second. Any other questions or comments before we vote? All right, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed?
Aye.
All right. Motion passes 6-1. All right, item 12 is consider appointment and approval of contracts for the following. And I'll just go ahead and read these, all three. The presiding judge of the Belton Municipal Court, the associate judge of the Belton Municipal Court, and the city attorney, municipal prosecutor of the Belton Municipal Court. Mr. Rogers.
Mayor and council, good evening. To increase the efficiency of court operations and to better document the responsibility of the parties, are being proposed tonight for the presiding judge, the associate judge, and our municipal prosecutor. The contracts have definite term, with contract ratification occurring every 2 years. So these contracts we'll look at again, kind of on a biannual basis. Each appointed person must be a duly qualified attorney licensed in practicing law in the state of Texas for at least 2 years. And the action that we're taking tonight will also get us closer to becoming a court of record, which is, I think, what we all desire. So contract A is for the presiding judge. Steve Lee was appointed presiding judge on October the 9th, 2007. He wishes to continue serving in that capacity in the future. The presiding judge is primarily responsible for all municipal court proceedings. He is the big chief in court. Contract B is for associate judge. For this particular position, a request for qualifications was posted and mailed to area law firms, associate judge positions. The associate judge will be responsible for municipal court proceedings in the absence of the presiding judge for things like vacation, illness, etc. Some qualifications were received from 2 candidates. Each candidate was interviewed by an evaluation committee made up of Councilwoman Banyan, Councilman Covington, presiding judge Steve Lee, administrator Lucretia Vandeplas, city manager Sam Listy, city clerk Amy Casey, and me, director of finance. The evaluation committee is very pleased to recommend Jasmine Rios Harding to the city council for appointment of associate judge. Contract C is our assistant city attorney / municipal prosecutor. Carmen Garcia has served as municipal prosecutor since October 8th of 2019. She also would like to continue serving in that capacity for the future. As municipal prosecutor, her responsibilities include prosecuting cases, interacting with attorneys, conducting pretrial hearings, and conducting trials as needed. Management gladly recommends the appointment of Steve Lee as presiding judge, Jasmine Rios Harding as associate judge, and Carmen Garcia as municipal prosecutor. And I'd be happy to answer any questions.
All right, so we will appoint these. It looks like we will make a motion to do these. I think we can do them all in one. So items A, B, and C. So the chair will entertain a motion.
I'll make a motion. We approve all 3 contracts as presented.
Second.
All right, we have a motion, and a second. As far as comments, I'd like to hear there's a little history, I think, with our associate. Isn't there?
Yes, there is.
She wasn't so Steve,
Miss
tell
Rios
us
Harding.
why Miss Rios Harding went to, I mean, something about going to law school. Did you have?
She actually served as a court clerk in our courtroom. I mean, she was just a clerk. Judge Lee said, "You are much too smart to be a court clerk. You need to be an attorney." Ms. Rios Harding took that as a challenge, became an attorney, and now would like to be a judge in a court she was a clerk in not that long ago.
Yeah.
Amazing couple.
Here, here.
Great.
Motions just don't tell the whole story.
Do it. Come on. He'll say it better than I do.
First of all, I'm a crybaby at everything I take seriously. I end up crying, but
Hard year
I'm
to be.
just so happy that the council has chosen Jasmine to be an associate judge in this court. I've been here, man, it's hard to believe, since 2007. Jasmine was a clerk in that court, doing clerk work and doing it very, very well, and doing it always with a great attitude, wonderful, sweet attitude. And I just told her one day, you don't belong here. You need to go to law school. You need to use the gifts God has given you. And lo and behold, she didn't do it. She moved down to Houston in difficult circumstances, went to law school for class, is back here now doing immigration work and some criminal defense work. And we'll be honored to have her as an associate judge in this court.
One of the, as a member of the evaluation committee for selecting Jasmine Rios Harding to be the associate judge for the municipal court, things that we talked about quite a bit in those meetings was the culture of the court. The court operates currently the way Judge Lee has operated for almost 20 years now, and the importance of every person who comes through the court feeling respected and feeling like their voice is heard, regardless of the outcome of the case. But with Jasmine's history in the court and being president there for so long, it's something that I'm really excited about, that she'll be able to continue to learn from Judge Lee, and that they'll be able to work together going forward. So I'm very excited about her appointment.
What a wonderful thing to have a good mentor.
Yeah.
Thank you.
That's great.
And congratulations.
Yeah.
I mean, it means probably more to me than, memories, but, it's great. I love my time in Belton, and when Judge told me to do it, I, of course.
Yes, sir.
So I'm back.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. Congratulations.
I also got to hear Jasmine very forcefully direct Mike, sit down and shut up during the meeting. It was a challenge issue to her, and she exceeded all expectations. I'm excited for her.
She should come to budget meetings.
Yeah. Well, and I couldn't let this go without showcasing that this is what makes Belton a great place. Being able to have people in the community that not only want to be active in the community in their own personal life, but also in their professional life. This is really good. And it's another star in our crown of great employees in the city of Belton that serve so well. So again, thank you.
Mayor, may I just say a
Yes.
word of expression for Lucretia and Carmen. Lucretia, I emailed Lucretia and say, what am I supposed to be doing? And she emails me back and tells me she takes really good care of me and court, and we're very grateful to have her. And Carmen's been fantastic, come on since 2019. Was an excellent lawyer. I asked her to help me with some of my private work. She's just excellent, committed, and we're very fortunate to have her as well. And I'm so grateful. 2007, I used to have hair. Well, it's
That's crazy. As I was up here and I had some too.
I did. And when I walked in, I thought, I remember the mayor when he had hair.
Yeah. And it wasn't all one color gray.
Right.
It was something else.
So we're grateful. We're thankful. We appreciate
Thank
it.
you. All right. We already have a motion in a second. No other comments. All in favor of this appointment, say aye. Aye. Those opposed? Passes unanimously.
Wow.
All right.
We're going to swear in.
Swearing them in.
Come to the front, please.
I did city court in Belton for 40 years, and when they made the change and brought some in, I told Sam what we want city court is not to ever hear anything from them. And a good thing, because they do it right, and they respect whatever comes in there, and respect the people and this, and whatever the offense is. And Steve is awesome, really is. And Carmen, I told when she came, I said, Carmen will never embarrass us. She'll never disappoint us. She'll just do what she's supposed to do. And that's what she's done. It's my honor to swear all y'all in. I'll be quiet. When I'm going to say my name, and where I say my name, you say your name. And where I say my position, you say your position, and then repeat after me if you would. Raise your right hand. Be my honor to swear you in. I, John Messer, do solemnly swear that I will faithfully execute the duties of the office of city attorney, in my case, of the state of Texas, of the city of Belton, and will, to the best of my ability, preserve, protect, and defend the Constitution and laws of this state and of the United States. So help me God. Congratulations to all three of you.
That's fun. All right. Item lucky 13. Consider authorizing the city manager to enter into a future water contract with Bell County Water Control and Improvement District Number 1.
Members of the council, we had a very fruitful work session a little earlier today, and just one slide to summarize a momentous and important decision for the council today. We're here to make a recommendation to you to determine an allocation, a water plant expansion that's under consideration right now. We're recommending 4 million gallons a day of additional capacity at a cost of $24 million. That capacity will fulfill our demand between 2040 and 2070. That additional capacity ensures that when the pipeline infrastructure is available, the ability to provide that additional water will also be available. In addition to that $24 million in expenditure for the plant expansion, there are also just under $3.4 million capital maintenance expenses, so $3.38 million. The total recommended commitment at this time by the city of Belton would be $27,380,000. We are currently doing, as you are well aware, a utility rate study, and we plan to fold these improvement costs into the rate study, with the first payment being anticipated in early 2025, that issue occurring later this year. The average estimated debt service for that expenditure for the 4 million gallons a day and the capital maintenance expenses would be just slightly over $2 million per year. This is an important decision for the council. We certainly recognize that. We don't take it lightly at all. But as you've seen in the information that was presented to you, this reflects a commitment to demand that we're aware of at this particular point in time, and we strongly recommend the adoption of this item.
All right. Just for clarification for those in the audience, this is a one slide. We had multiple day visits to go out and look at the plant. We've looked at all kinds of graphic information. We've had all kinds of technical discussions. We just had a long work session. So this has been a lot of work behind. So just FYI. So that being said, the motion or the item before the council, chair would entertain a motion, questions or discussion.
Move to approve item 13 as presented.
Second. We have a motion and a second to approve item 13 for an additional 4 million gallons per day capacity. Any discussion before we vote? Discussion, all in favor, say aye. Aye. Those opposed? All right, passes unanimously. Seems simple. Receive a presentation from Leadership Belton and consider participation in funding for a gateway monument sign along Highway 317 North Main Street.
Is this a $24 million sign?
It is not. It's a little bit cheaper than today. So
I didn't realize you were a security alert.
yes, exactly. Mayor, council, I'll be brief with this. This is kind of an exciting one. After that heavy lift you all just had there. So this is a gateway monument. You know that, but generally the concept we were approaching with Belton class of 2024, an interest in wanting to do
again, we typically get approached each year and general ideas kind of thrown about. And this group was interested in maybe doing a gateway monument and interested in where that could be. Knowing we've got the new kind of corridor with the expansion of 317 there at our north. So just a quick recap for those, for you all and those in the room. We have 3 existing right now. Central Patriot Plaza that we have there, 6th Avenue and Loop 121. I think several of those were leadership projects as well. So naturally kind of fitting the theme of what we're doing here. The location of where we're talking about today is out, is it the North Highway 317, North Main Street? Southbound coming into town from Temple into Belton. If you're familiar with where the Bar Branch entrance is, it's right on that side across from Mystic River. So just a couple of maps there, a little large to see that for it. Reason why this site was picked, it's got some nice topography already. It's quite elevated. We have the 30 feet clearance that we need for some of the TxDOT elements that we'll talk about. So it's quite visible. It's close to existing power. There's no major utilities underneath it. We're in a good spot from a position standpoint. And a beautiful live oak tree that we Parks and Rec would get our hands on and clean up, and it would look really nice. So this is kind of a wonderful picture from James's car, James's truck as we were driving, but we try to get the scale because I know you're going to be wondering about what the size of it will look like. So probably on the right is your best look at what that would be. We would, with the group, as we'll get forward with, on some lighting for it. It may, depending on how funds come in, maybe some to start with, and then we progress future to, or if they really, kind of hammer home some good fundraising, maybe there's a chance for actual electrical to be ran there. And of course, that would make that be done there. Engineering design, just to real quick kind of catch you all up as to where we've got to. We had an idea was presented to the staff, looked at the location, assessed what opportunities were there. Then we met with, we came back as a group, met also with KPA, who agreed to donate their design time. In order to get TxDOT approval, you need professional services, an engineer to do these plans. So John Simsick and his crew was very grateful to do that. So that's all being done. And then obviously we have the logo design, which is from Boulder Designs. We'll kind of talk about that in a second, but they also did the Liberty Park one, if you remember that. And then also the most recent one, the Heritage Park sign at 24th Avenue. So those are some like for like. We like the look of it. It is cast concrete that is decorated and stamped in such a way that it looks like real stone. It's awesome. So TxDOT does have an approval process. We had reached out. We kind of want to do our due diligence before we come to you. We kind of want to get some general thumbs up. Are we okay to? TxDOT has given us, I think they'd be okay with me saying generally we're good to go. We just need to finally submit once we have the full monies and we're ready to go on the project. And I think that will be that approval will be swift, I hope. So the funding that we've got right now, we estimate that if we really kind of tighten our boots and get this project for $40,000 to $45,000, the sign itself is the heavy lift. That's the $30,000. And then there's probably another 10 to 15 grand in the foundation, some of the stonework we want to do with it, lighting, possibly some of that kind of stuff. So that's where we've got that 45 number from. Obviously, that number could be brought down substantially depending on if they get some in-kind contributions. And I think we would express as a city, we would do all we could to help lower cost, anything we could do in-house, equipment, labor, that kind of stuff. So here's kind of what you've got in front of you today, at 40 to 45,000. KPA has already donated the professional services. The leadership group, essentially at this point, what we would like the reason for tonight's presentation is, one, y'all's consideration and blessing on the location that we've selected. If you feel like that's appropriate, we can proceed. And the second is, and this kind of stems a little bit from the beautification committee that had over the past year, there was $15,000 recommended in there for some monument signage. And this may be at least a head start for the group, right? So now they're really chasing about $30,000 worth of, that's their fundraising goal. And they're fully aware. We've got the leadership group here. So Meredith and all the team here, phenomenal group. They're really gung ho about it. They're ready to get out there and start hustling up some funds. And so that's kind of where we are tonight. If you would consider the location and if you're agreeable to the $15,000 that was recommended from the beautification committee. And with that, I can answer questions, but we also have the leadership group as well, if there's any questions you have for them.
Any questions or comments, or the chair would entertain a motion?
Exciting project, the work. Hopefully the beautification committee or that group could fund the 15, and maybe we could get to work and help ourselves with a grant or some other funding, maybe from TERS or some other resource to assist with that. Maybe even BDC could do something, but I'd like to get that moving. It's very exciting. It looks wonderful. And a little lighting, and that would be a great addition to our community. I'm all for it.
Yeah, the city's 15,000 is set aside. We're ready to go with that. So that's our commitment.
I think we can look around our community and see several projects that have had the hand of a leadership Belton class on it. So I'm so thankful for the continued vision that you all bring and for generations to come. And I'm a big fan of these signs. So I'm very excited to see one in that part of town. Thank you so much.
Yeah, I would say with this one, whatever we can do in kind is huge. I mean, as part of the project that I was a part of for the police memorial, the city was huge in kind and prep work and stuff. And especially with this one being, you're not really gonna be able to put a brick with the sponsor's name or anything like that because the TxDOT schools. So, anything with our new motor grader or wheel loader, we can help probably go a long way. So.
Yeah.
I'll make a motion to approve item number 14 as presented.
I'll second.
We have a motion and a second to approve the sign and the allocation of funds for that sign. Any other comments or questions? All right, all in favor, say aye.
All
right. Those opposed? All right, and just to let you know, when we start one of our first signs, I think our first sign, John Holmes was on leadership. They're on 6th, so 6th and Main.
That was,
that was really
long
junky.
time
And it was amazing, Anyway, it really turned that kind of 6th Avenue gateway and started something big. So thank you, John.
It was probably only $5,000 back then too.
Yeah, it was probably 25.
proposal ever made it was the Longhorns over the interstate. Y'all, who was around with that one. That one didn't get approved.
No.
A little too pricey.
Yeah. All right.
I just want to express my appreciation to the group. They've done a fantastic job. A lot of very Meredith and the entire group and James Grant, who did a lot of the very cold day when he put that sign up out there on Main Street and Matt and all his folks. So I really appreciate everybody's effort in pushing the project forward and trying to be ready so that they can graduate. Right?
Yeah.
Right.
Oh,
So
good.
everybody's
Thank you,
standing
guys.
by. So thank you very much, Tom.
Thank you.
Item 15 is we will hold a public hearing and consider an ordinance reaffirming the city's tax abatement guidelines and criteria. So first is for the public hearing, we will close the deliberation of the council and open the floor to the public for this public hearing. If anyone has any opinion, would like to speak for or against the city's tax abatement guidelines and criteria, now is your time. There being nobody rushing to speak in favor or against the city's tax abatement, we will close the public hearing and reconvene the council to consider this motion. The chair would entertain a motion or discussion.
Make a motion to approve it as is from the 2022 version.
A second.
We have a motion and a second to approve the ordinance reaffirming the city's tax abatement guidelines and criteria. Any other discussion or questions?
I would hope we would seriously and expeditiously consider expanding this program downtown as it's defined in Imagine Belton.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Okay. Yeah. I think that's probably the reason for reaffirming is there's not enough movement one way or the other to really consider changing it at this point. But I think it's a tool that could be used. All right. Any other comments or questions? All right. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Passes unanimously. Item 16, another one, hold a public and consider an ordinance redesignating former tax abatement reinvestment zone 7, 8, 9, and 13. This will be a little quicker.
Yeah.
I will Go ahead.
All right, thank you,
Sam.
Mayor, council members. Briefly show you the boundaries of these. Again, we're just asking the council to extend these reinvestment zones. The presence of the reinvestment zones allows us to establish a tax abatement agreement relatively quickly, since these are already in place. These are what you commonly know of as our existing industrial areas around town. You can see those located on the map. There's 5 of them all together. And quickly, the Belton Business Park along I-14, the old Belton Industrial Park located there, the Salado Business down on the south side of the interstate, the former Rockwell property anticipated to get under development relatively soon. Then also the South Loop Industrial Park, where we've had the single existing tax abatement agreement that still is in place for capital seeding and with some expansion opportunities anticipated there. So those are the locations. Again, no changes to the boundaries. Again, it's just a tool in our toolbox to have in case there's a request for a tax abatement to evaluation by the council. So we'd recommend you conduct the public hearing and approve the redesignation of these. They last for 2 years. And so this is the 2-year update of that. Oh, excuse me. Boy, how time flies.
Okay, 5 years. All right, 5 years. All right, so we'll open the public hearing. Anyone would like to speak in favor? Or in opposition to? No.
In opposition to Cynthia Hernandez, Belton Economic Development Corporation, 412 East Central Avenue, Belton. And just want to say that this has been a great tool. This coupled with the tax has been a great tool for the EDC in recruiting businesses to Belton and in helping our existing businesses expand. And so we appreciate all of the work up to this point and certainly would request your continued support in that manner.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Anyone else? There being no other comments, we will close the public hearing and we will reconvene the council to redesignate these TARZ districts, zones. Chair would.
I move we approve or redesignate zones 7, 8, 9, 12, and 13.
Second. We have a motion and a second to redesignate these former zones. Any other comments or questions? There being none, all in favor say aye. Aye. Those opposed? Passes unanimously. Item 17, consider authorizing the city manager executing 5-year extensions to the non-annexation development agreements that expire on February 12th, 2024 and initiate annexation meetings on properties no longer eligible for the non-annexation development agreement.
Thank you, Mayor. Council, I appreciate the opportunity to talk to you about this. Excuse me, we had a mapping project about a month ago where we wanted to evaluate this area, make sure that maps were up to date, and we discovered that there were these NDAs, as we call them, non-annexation development agreements, in place. And so this map right here shows that we annexed this area back in 2009, which dates us back to those 2009 NDAs. And the area outlined in red is the area that was annexed, and it's about 415 acres. And so I'm sorry, was there a question? Oh, sorry. The areas in yellow are show the non-development agreements, non-annexation development agreements. And the blue areas outlined in red was actually the area that was annexed ultimately. So we're talking about 9 property owners and 14 parcels of property that are in these NDAs. Of the 14 properties, 2 property owners amounting to about 4 pieces of property are no longer eligible. As you may remember, NDAs are offered during the annexation process to folks that were required to do this annexation process. Excuse me. And so people who are eligible that have an exemption through ag exemption or wildlife or timber exemptions, they can receive those NDAs. And so we're almost required to have them, to offer them unless they reject them. And as you know, every time you go to somebody who says, well, we'll give you an opt-out on the annexation, they'll take it, right? And so back in 2009, all these properties that I showed you just a second ago, all in yellow, they accepted the development agreements in 2024. Four of those property owners, Mr. Rivetto's property, UBET Investments, no longer qualify as an exemption to the NDA. Okay. And so I'm going to talk about those in a little bit more. So I'm getting close here. The current city map includes both the properties that was annexed as well as the properties that have an NDA. The boundary is all one. And so when we started to analyze this area, we found that there were these areas that were outside the city limits. They're not being taxed by the city. They're outside the city limits. However, they show to be in our city limits currently. As a matter of fact, back in 2002, as you can see on bullet point number 2, UBET Properties applied for a zoning change. And they were granted a zoning change. And we thought they were inside the city, so they're currently on C2. They were zoned from ag to C2 back there. They're located on Simmons Road, as it shows there, right there. Now, UBET is no longer exempt according to state law. So we're asking that the council authorize city manager to sign the new NDAs. Now, the reason I gave you this little story about the mapping thing is because you noticed that our expiration date was yesterday. All right. And so we want to take this approach in order to kind of move forward from there. And so if you agree with our recommendation to authorize our city manager to sign the new NDAs, then we'll proceed with contacting all the property owners out there and then also to offer them a new NDA. And the 2 property owners that no longer qualify will notify them that initiate annexation proceedings on them, if y'all agree. And so we're suggesting that if we can go forward tomorrow with the deadlines, we'd have a deadline for the NDAs to come back to us on February 23rd. We would execute those NDAs if they still wanted to, and then file them with the county clerk's office, and then we'd initiate the annexation process on Mr. Rivetto and UBET Investments. Now, the reason I told you about the zoning case is because normally when we annex property into the city, it's zoned ag. And we would suggest that when you do annex this, that it be zoned C2 just because you've already C2. That's a suggestion that I'm making to you. So my recommendation to evening is to authorize our city manager to execute the 5-year extensions on the NDAs that have already expired, and then to begin the annexation process on Mr. Rivetto properties and the UBET investment properties. And then when the UBET investment properties is annexed into the city, if you all agree with the suggestions that we're making, that they be zoned C2 at that time. So I'm happy to answer any questions.
All right, this does not have a public hearing, and just for clarity, all we're doing is approving extension of the NDAs and the start of proceedings on these properties, nothing beyond that.
That's correct.
Everything else is
That's
like-
correct. I overlooked one thing. I'm suggesting 5-year extension NDAs. When we did some extensions a few years ago, we suggested that we look, instead of doing a 10 or 15-year extension, that we look at just a more modest 5-year extension. At that time, the council was willing to accept the 5 years. So we're continuing with that same recommendation at this time. So it could be any time period, any period of time. Right?
Comments, questions, or the chair would entertain a motion.
Approve item 17 in accordance with staff recommendation.
Second. We have a motion, a second. Now, any
Just a
discussion?
quick question. The 2 properties that are being annexed, they have development that we didn't know about, or?
No. They're vacant. I don't think I have it. No, I don't have an aerial on that, but no, there's no development on the properties. I think UBET Investments had intentions something when they rezoned it a couple of years ago, but the property is vacant. Well, there might be a house on the Rivetto property, that kind of thing.
They have not maintained their exemption. The exemptions are limited to ag, wildlife, or timber, and those are no longer in place.
Are these new owners? So is UBET a new owner? So they were not.
It is.
They were not a
Oh.
party, so we couldn't extend. And the Rovetto, were they did they sign it originally, or is that a new owner?
They signed it originally, yes. Their exemption just lapsed at one point in time.
And my last question was, can they request being removed from our ETJ? I know there was some discussion about that in the Austin area.
That's my question.
They can. The new law allows people to opt out. We did reach out to TML, as a matter of fact, to ask those questions. And the agreements that we have are agreements between the city and the property owner. And so there has not been a case anywhere where a person with an NDA has contested that because they want out of the ETJ. So we're proceeding under the framework of the agreement. They agreed to it. We agreed to it. So now we're exercising our options.
But the new laws, the new annexation, does the agreement protect from that, or does it remove those?
It's not certain. It's not certain.
I
It's
would like to
untested.
know that.
It's untested case. I mean, right now, the agreement predates the law. So usually when something predates, unless it's explicitly stated that this plant's old. So these agreements are still legally binding. But they're legally binding, but they're not tested. So that somebody hasn't taken this to the Texas Supreme Court to see.
Didn't they just expire? They're going to be
Right.
renewed.
They've expired.
They've
Yeah.
expired.
So the conversation we're having with these folks is if you want to stay out of the city, sign an NDA and let's see what happens.
My question, could they opt out of the ETJ and avoid the NDA?
They could, yes.
It's within 5.
They're within the 5 miles.
So I think this is 5 miles of Fort Hood's where you
I didn't know.
Yeah.
Oh, that's exactly right. They're within that 5.
This is the area of the city where within 5 miles of.
So that changes the flavor of the conversation. Absolutely.
You don't have.
We currently have a motion and a second to go ahead and extend 5 years for those that are there and then to start annexation proceedings. It's a motion and a second. Any other comments or questions? And
I think just moving forward, reviewing this process where we don't let things lapse. Like, I mean, that seems like
I agree.
especially since there's been a zoning change.
yeah, that didn't trigger.
Did that not? So we can talk about that later, but
Yeah. No,
I would just ask that we tighten that up.
Thank you.
All right, motion and a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Passes unanimously. All right. Next item is consider a revised interlocal government agreement between the Belton and Bell County concerning joint regulation of subdivision plat review in Belton's extraterritorial jurisdiction, ETJ. Mr.
Wonderful.
Van Til.
Thank you very much. As you know, we've had an interlocal agreement with the county since 2002 to take the lead in a plat review. And that changed a couple of years ago, back in 2021, when there were some changes in the law, and that reflected on plat review timeframes. And there were some issues that the county had with other communities, not with Belton, and that caused a conversation with all the communities in the county. And so in order to address those concerns, we entered into another agreement that apportioned the areas between the county and the city, and that agreement was agreed to in 2021. And this is a copy of that agreement from back in 2021. The red hashed areas are a city review. We are the lead in the plat review in those areas. And then the blue dotted areas are areas that are led by the county. And so let me draw your attention to, because I'm going to talk about this part. It's right in here. That's a great yellow color that probably many of you can't see. That area currently is in the county review, the county lead area for plat review. So things where we're talking about development, things like that. So in early 23, a development called Ranch at latitude 31 filed with the county. And that's 627 acres, 487 lots, as you can see right there. And it's located where the star is on the map. And that's the area that I drew a circle around a second ago. And it's north of 14 and it's west of George Wilson. Oh, inset, you can see the green colored map there. Kind of gives you the geography of where it's located. That development by itself will have significant impact on our community. To speak simply about traffic and drainage, you know, there's a lot of issues that we have to take into consideration and things like that. Starts gathering steam and starts to develop in the area. So based on that development and the potential of other developments that may start to put pressure as far as development is concerned in that area, we're recommending that this area be switched back to the city of Belton as the plat review lead. And that's that area that you see outlined in red assigned to Belton. And that includes the entire area that was previously assigned to the county. And so we would recommend that you would change the apportionment area on the map to that color. That would be city lead, that kind of stuff. There's some critical reasons for recommending this. And you've got the outline right here, but if it just has to meet our urban standards in order to be a development that is well planned and functions well and articulates well with the thoroughfare system and all the other systems that are needed in order to make this development thrive and articulate with future development and those kind of things. So those are some very critical planning issues that we need to keep in mind as we move forward in the development review process. So those are the reasons why we're making this recommendation. So in summary, I'd like to recommend a reapportionment of Belton's ETJ in that one location because of the urbanizing development in Bell County. This is not a county development. This is high density. It requires close scrutiny that the standards in the county does not address. And we would take the lead on plat review in this ETJ area. And Bell County would continue to take the plat review in the other areas that we had agreed to back in 21, but we would not make any changes to the agreement, only to the map, which is an appendix to the agreement. So we're not changing the verbiage in the agreement. We're just changing the map. And as you noticed, let me go back to that one map just to remind you very quickly. Down on the inset right in the middle, it's that area outlined in red, which was previously apportioned to the county. So we recommend approval of the revised interlocal agreement, reapportioning the area that was previously a Bell County plat review lead to the city plat review lead, as reflected in the agreement on the amended apportionment map. I hope I said that well. So if you have any questions, I'm happy to try to tackle those.
Bob, does this, if we're in charge of the plat review, does are they also required to use our development standards? And so if we require them to build a road to a specific standard, that's followed, and then the county is in charge of maintaining that road at a later date?
Well, I answer the first part of your question. Yes, the maintenance issue is as yet unresolved.
Are we inspecting those development requirements on behalf of the county
Oh, no.
to ensure that they're being done properly?
We would typically require the improvements subject to our subdivision standards, so they would meet our standards of design. In the case of Three Creeks or River Farms, we inspect the utilities. We don't inspect the streets. And so there's still a dual partnership that's still required, even as there's an effort to not take that responsibility. As we saw in Three Creeks, the 8 first sections of Three Creeks done in this fashion, approved, inspected by Bell County, but then in sections 9 and 10, the county chose to accept the streets for maintenance. And so that has presented a real challenge going forward. Been a lot of discussions about how to handle this. The mud law has changed now so that internal streets can be included in the mud covenant so that they could be maintained like an HOA as a part of the ownership, the mud tax that they pay.
I think that's a hidden expense owner.
It absolutely is. Owner, developer, someone's got to pay basically. But what we're particularly concerned about here is not just the internal streets, but the external streets, Patty Hamilton, George Wilson, the other areas, issues. And we believe our subdivision regs would more appropriately govern those in an urbanizing element. This is not a county subdivision. It would be served by area water districts 439 and Dogridge on the water. It would be served by Bell County in terms of the septic tank. So there's still a dual partnership. The law that has, legislature's made so many changes in this law that really have impacted urbanizing development. For example, a creation of a MUD, we're forced to accept a MUD, or they can go to the legislature and get a MUD approved. And yet there's these contravening procedures that make it very, very difficult to ensure the final result and give the property owners expectation about what's going to happen out there. And so we believe that's our role as a public entity. And it's just very important.
Well, and that's my next question is, are we compensated for review outside of our city limits?
Only the plat review fee is the only compensation that we get. And
It seems like we're on the hook for a lot here.
well, the opportunity to try to ensure compliance with not only our design standards, but our thoroughfare plan. So important. They have 2 little accesses coming out to George Wilson Road. But what's the impact to George Wilson Road? We, through our subdivision regs, as an example, can require a TIA, a traffic impact analysis. The county, to my knowledge, cannot. And so we've got to measure the impact of 500 lots on George Wilson and Patty Hamilton and surrounding streets. And as a result of that, try to ensure some improvements to those streets, similar to what we did with River Farms, Toll Bridge Road, and other things. So to ignore that, which is what the legislature would suggest, or perhaps even the county in this case, to ignore that obligation, it's not going to be a problem next year, 2 years, 3 years, 5 years, but it's going to be a problem in the future. And as a public entity, we believe it's extremely important for us to address that on the front end.
And Sam, also add in what you always bring up. The I-14, this property is going to be in the city limits, actual city limits. So, I mean, we're a neighbor to this property. And, today you'd think, well, we're not at George Wilson Road. We don't have water certification. If you look 5-10 years down the road, when we have water and communities don't, this may very well be in the city limits at some point. And George Wilson, if not really carefully watched through this process, it could be a real problem for us, for the city going forward 5, 10, 20 years ahead. Because
given how difficult it's been for us to plan for future development on the perimeters of our city, thanks to the legislature, I think this is a valuable tool to help us. As John just said, 5 years from now is one thing. Look at Sherwood Shores or places like that. That's kind of
we wouldn't
grew
have any say
organically.
whatsoever track if the law dealing with being removed from ETJ didn't have that one little subsection in there about being within 5 miles of a military base.
3 years ago, when we did the apportionment agreement, George Wilson Road was a lot further out than it is now. And so a lot more development pressure in the area. One other factor basically that's important here is the 2 cities, both Temple and Belton, have an ETJ component here. Temple's ETJ, the claw, comes around to the north side of this property, about to Patty Hamilton. Whereas our ETJ wraps around from the southern side and takes the rest of the property. As a result of that, you can see Temple's area, they're basically the area in green. So both city councils have to approve the creation of a MUD in our ETJs. that discussion is ongoing. We're planning meetings in the next couple of weeks or so to talk about that. That'll be the first step. And so that action will come to the council. And so the creation of a MUD in our ETJ will be a question for y'all to ask. And hopefully by that point, we'll have this resolved and the plat review would be under our jurisdiction.
Who's going
We'll have
serve?
to go, we'll have to go to the county. I've gotten some pushback from the county about whether there's support among the county commissioners for this to be changed. The provision in the interlocal agreement right now says the agreement can be changed by both parties at any time that we agree, or an entity can withdraw, can come out of the interlocal agreement. Now, there's a requirement for an apportionment agreement. That's what the state has given us. So we're hopeful that we can achieve this cooperatively.
Who would serve that mud?
What for water? 439.
It's actually split between
It's
Dog
split.
Ridge and 49. And we haven't seen anything in writing. They've told us they have an agreement, but nobody's shown us anything.
Can they handle it?
439 could.
439 could.
Dog Ridge couldn't.
Yeah, that's our understanding that I think they're working with 439, but Dog Ridge is going to have to release it. And so there has to be an agreement in order to do that.
Yeah, I mean, ultimately, the case law is still messy. And so I think whether whatever's enforced can't be enforced later. But right now, the city has tools in its toolbox to help manage the growth that it does not have. So just being able to have access to those tools, I think is the right thing. So I support what you guys are suggesting.
I do worry about long-term maintenance of those roads, especially with issues at Three Creek.
Sure. Yes, so the chair would entertain a motion on this item 18.
I move we consider revised interlocal agreement between the city of Belton and Bell County concerning the joint regulation on subdivision plat review in Belton's ETJ.
Second.
We have a motion, and a second. Any other comments, questions, discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? All right, passes unanimously.
Thank you.
Item 19, right, this is what's separating us between us and dinners. So no pressure. Consider appeal from Belton Independent School District regarding the Historic Preservation's decision not to allow the den of 430 Beale.
Well, I feel the pressure. I know, I'm like, warm up a little bit. Get away from the air conditioning. Right, so just a review, again, this is a contributing property in Central Belton Historic District. Contributing properties are properties that are over the age of 50, and they have some kind of historic significance, whether it's the time period that they were built or the materials that are used on the construction of the building itself. This is located right here where the star is. Here's North Blair, 4th Avenue. Oops, sorry. No, got to turn on there. North 4th Avenue and Bill Street. And I can see that lime green color is a contributing property. What the request was is a certificate of appropriateness to demolish a contributing building at 433 North Bill Street. This was considered at the historic preservation meeting. The first meeting was in October 5th of 2023, and they actually postponed that hearing until January to allow the applicant time to find an alternative to demolition, hopefully to sell the property to someone else that could relocate that building. The item was postponed until January. At that time, the applicant had requested a postponement because there was an RF out on the street, and they were hoping to hear back from some bidders on the property. Here is a picture of the building. In your packet, there was a lot more pictures that show different angles of that property. But according to the 2012 and 2022 survey, again, this is a resource, is a contributing property. It's a Craftsman Classic Revival. Across gables, wood sidings that appear to be in good condition. The property has a medium preservation type. That means that some of the contributing property materials have been removed, but there are still a lot of that are still there that provides integrity for the building. Notable features include the exposed rafters, the roof dormers, wide eaves, moderate pitch roof, and also that L-shaped front porch. All right, since their meeting in October, BISD three proposals out on the street looking for anyone that was interested in this property. Three people expressed interest, but they ultimately stepped down because of the cost to relocate the building was a little too great for them. And since then, there's been a lot of criminal activities on the property. There's been a lot of police calls because of a lot of break-ins going on in the property. Property's been tied to drug use and sales in the past because of the property that were breaking in and vandalizing the place. Per our historic preservation ordinance, there's a couple of things that we look at when we're looking at demolition. What is the uniqueness of the building? Again, it is a contributing property. It has some of the architectural styles that are still in place, the elements. Like Craftsman is one of the most common type of homes in the historic districts. 1/3 of the historic period dwellings in our local historic district. Did some research looking at this to see if there was any kind of different uses on the property. This was a meeting place once for the Daughters of the Republic of Texas. It was home for one of the members that was on that board. Structural integrity, we're looking at the condition of the building from the point of integrity. If there's any kind of structural damages that would cause it to not hold up. Alternatives is what our code recommends. We look at some kind of economic viable options, donation to a nonprofit agency, sell to a prospective purchaser that can maintain that property, potential for relocation, and also potential for rezoning it to make the property work with maybe a different use. The Historic Preservation ultimately decided on this back in February the 1st. There were two buildings on the property. There's one that's a non-contributing garage that they approved of the demolition request for. But for the historic building, they disapproved of that. For the city recommendation, we see that BISD has made some attempt to try to sell that property and to try to avoid that demolition. Unfortunately, they were unsuccessful. BISD, as of today, they're willing to take this out again for a public bid. That will go out on the 20th, and I left my little cheat sheet for consideration. Thank you. Left it in my purse. The deadline for that will be on the 21st. This will be a little different, and this they're looking at maybe options for helping to pay for that relocation of the home. So what they're requesting is probably two options. If there is a bidder that is looking at that new RFQ, maybe that option can still be available where they can relocate the building. If not, they're still looking for an option to demolition after the bid has closed around April 15th. Michael, BISD is here. Should you have any questions for him? And I'll be happy to answer any questions that you have as well.
All right.
Oh, would you like to talk?
Tina, was there any idea of the relocation cost? Was it very variable or have any idea at all?
One applicant has said 100,000. Mr. Morgan has more of that information.
We did talk to Michael Morgan, Belton, Texas, work for Belton ISD. We did speak with three potential applicants that would like to put proposals in. One got an estimate that was around, and once again, it's probably relative to want to relocate the building to. One was around $70,000. One was around $100,000, and the third didn't bid. He thought that it would be too expensive to pursue.
Was there a minimum bid?
We didn't put a minimum bid.
Okay.
It was really, we were open to anything that would be offered to us. It was really a matter of whether someone could afford to relocate the building and then pay for whatever the cost would be to renovate once they had it to its new locations.
Thanks. Yeah.
What's the general estimate on the demolition cost?
We haven't attained that yet because we haven't received from yet. So we would, that would be something we would have to come out and take bids on that as well. So we would prefer, as we can with the Historic Commission, we would prefer a relocation option. We've had it out in 3 different proposals for around 75 days so far with no qualifying bids or bids period. And we would want to put it out for about 30 months, with the exception that we would do a shared cost if possible, if it comes in with something that we could afford to do.
Any other comments or questions? Is there a structural review on the home at all at this point? Like, has anybody checked it out from a structural engineering standpoint? To
We haven't done
determine-
that. It's-
I mean, just driving by it and looking at it, it looks like it could be moved pretty easily. It's very near, major roads that it could be moved out to and basically taken anywhere. So, I mean, but it's not free. We've moved several off of the church property and some other properties, and some have gone out to Hope for the Hungry. And I just wonder if Hope for the Hungry might not be interested in this one, if there were some help with the legal costs. I'll reach out to them after this. I appreciate the proposals from BISD. I guess my discomfort is that I like to see I don't want to keep kicking the can down the road, same point, just to say, if we don't get anything we like, we're going to go ahead and tear it down at this point. I'm not prepared to recommend that.
I agree, Craig. I applaud the district for trying to work with potential buyers or relocators. I really don't want to see it lose another quality old house. If we had an idea of how much demolition fees were and possibility of Hope for the Hungry or another organization, private individual, that would be the best outcome, in my opinion.
I think these are always really difficult. This is on your property. And I realize we have our ordinances and our laws, so I would hope that we can work together to find an alternative that would satisfy our desire to see the building saved, as well as meet the goals that you all have for your property. And that's where it gets a little, for me anyway, it's sticky. And I would really like to see us as a city as well participate in helping find an alternative.
Well,
Since we're requiring you to, since it's us
that's a
requiring.
classic historic structure. I hate to see it. Yeah, like I said, it doesn't look like it's going to be hard to move. But again, I haven't been inside it. I just drove by.
Yeah, just to Daniel's question, just from the outside, typically the wood rot on the eaves and then the lack of stability of the structure. It looks square. It doesn't look like it's a lot of rot. So it looks like the underlying structure is probably good. I think the challenge is going to be just renovation costs. Typically, it's more, as we discussed earlier, it's probably more cost to renovate something than to build it new. But there's a historic element to this. So I'm with everybody else. And it's a challenge because you've got a fiduciary responsibility to the health and well-being of the community, but also the historic preservation guidelines is right? We as citizens have chosen to do that, and we as citizens serve on those commissions and so I think we are looking for the best solution. So I think right now, option A is demo it, option B is no, you can't, and option C is somewhere in the middle. And so the chair would entertain a wise motion.
Well, Mayor, could I make just a comment or two? Michael and the district have worked very, very diligently to try to find a solution, I think. This obviously came together relatively quickly today, and they were willing to go back out. What I might suggest is that the council table the item, if the school district would agree, table the item. Potentially, if they get a responsible bidder, they would have to go to the board, any consideration of costs over $50,000. The council's second meeting in April is the 23rd. And perhaps could I, again, ask you kind of on the spot if you'd be willing to come back on the 23rd and report what the outcome is and see if we have a solution basically at that point in time.
And that would give us an opportunity to look for ways we can partner
Yes,
together.
absolutely. Absolutely. The challenge for the district, keep in mind, is the security issues of the structure for that extended time, which they've back to the very beginning. So I know that's a challenge. And anything we can do from a public safety standpoint will help you in doing that.
We would absolutely be willing to do that. And I just want, we didn't come to this at all from a spirit of disrespect to the property or to the historic preservation. In fact, we have committed to this downtown area. We have 500 students at our Bex campus. That's an original campus built in the 1950s. We have 350 students at New Tech, which is in portions that was originally built in High School. It's home to our DAP campus and our administration building. So we're invested in the downtown community, and we want to see it. We're putting money currently and have in the facilities because we want for years to come. So this was a property that we had an opportunity to purchase it. It's strategically located for us. We surrounded on 3 sides. We have over 900 students and several hundred employees that area daily. And we didn't come with it from a disrespectful standpoint, but it is a strategic property for us. And we would like to find a resolution that would be amicable for everyone if we can.
I think that's how we see it, Mike. I don't know that I didn't see it as disrespect at all. I think it's
No.
just finding what's best for for the property, for the school, for the neighborhood, and we want to work with you on that.
Would this be a candidate for a home grant?
Home grants are for
New one.
owner occupied residences. So it would not be, not under the current TDHCA program.
So right now, the recommendation is that we postpone any action on this item until April 23rd.
Concurrence in the proposal to go out and try to secure a bid with the.
Well, as far as our action is, just postpone it till 2023, to April 23rd.
with direct-
Whatever it is. Yeah. All right, motion a second. Craig and then Wayne. Postpone action on this item until April 23rd, 2024. And hopefully there's a good solution out
Thank
there.
you. Car.
Yeah, thank you.
We'll try to help you.
Yeah, well,
Thank you.
Appreciate your work on it, really,
Yeah.
seriously.
all right, that being item 19, that is on my agenda, the last item. I will. Oh, yes, I'm sorry. We had a motion and a second to postpone. Thank you. All in favor for postponing, say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right, passes unanimously. I was kind of feeling that vibe that was an aye. Anyway. That it was, oh, yeah. Oh, yes, I was about to. Yes. Yeah. So we are now, we're going to be breaking into executive session. We will have no action after the executive session, so you don't have to wait around until afterwards. Item 20 is executive session pursuant to the provision of the Open Meetings Law, Chapter 551, Government Code, Vernon's Texas Codes annotated in accordance with the authority contained in Section 551.072, deliberating regarding real property. And item 21 is executive session pursuant to the Open Meetings Law, Chapter 551, Government Code, Vernon's Texas Codes annotated in accordance with the contained in Section 551.074 for personnel. Right. That's it.
Good job, Lee.
Done.